Hey guys, thanks for joining me this week for one of my general art tips. You know, those things that I've learned from my mistakes. I just wanted to share this with you. Now, at first, I've painted for years, okay? But when I first started selling online, I was a colored pencil artist. Because, well, anyway, I was a colored pencil artist. But then I wanted to try something different. I thought, I want to try some acrylic. Okay, because actually before that I first learned to paint with oil paint. But anyway, I wanted to try acrylics for a while. Okay, so I went to the store, which is Walmart for us, and I got different brands of acrylic paint to see which one that I would like best, because you have to do that. You have to find which paint that you love the best, which colors that you love the best. That's just standard. But, well, I had some of this brand, and I loved the way it flowed on the canvas. But I liked the colors better in this brand. But it was a little bit more difficult to fool with, I thought. Then I would have another brand. I bet I had 6 or 7 different kinds of acrylic paint when I first, got into acrylics. But it was like, I liked the way this kind of reacted with this canvas. I liked these colors in this set better. So I thought, okay, well, I'll just mix it all up. So naturally, when I was beginning with acrylics, I would make a fairy or a mermaid, in the cartoony fashion. And sometimes I would spend hours on on just one paint, and I'd be like, when I got finished, I thought, the drawing was fine. Even the painting process was fine. But there was something that looked off about the color part of it. And even if they were monochromatic, just like using one color, like purple's my favorite color, so I'll just use that as an example. Like painting a whole entire painting in nothing but purples. Okay, just varying shades or whatever. Just using one color. But it's still, even when I would just use monochromatic one color, I would get finished with that painting, and I was like, something looks off about it. I don't know what it is. It's not the drawing. It's not the picture itself, as far as perspective or depth or dimension or whatever. To me, it looked like it had to do with the color. Okay, well, you can't go wrong with monochromatic, so I knew something wasn't right. Okay, so here's my little story. My sister is very artistic too. But we're as different as night and day as far as our mediums that we use and what we paint, the genre. I value her opinion because she's been painting longer than me. Even though she's not a professional artist, she just paints. I think she'll sell a thing or two every now and then to other people, but I really value her opinion, even though she's not a professional artist. But anyway, I just called her and I said, Terry, I said, something's wrong with my paintings. And I told her what was going on. And I said, I don't understand. I said, how can you screw up a monochromatic color? And she sat there and she listened to me, because you know I'm long-winded. And she asked me, she said, well, what brand of paint are you using, Ronnie? And I said, well, I've got Liquitex and Winsor Newton and Apple Barrel and Folk Art and Daler Rowney. At that point, she said, well, which one are you using? Well, I said, well, I like them all. I said, I'm using all of them. She kind of started laughing at that point. And she said, well, that's what's wrong. And I said, I don't understand what you're saying. And she said, it's okay to like different brands of paint. She said, there's nothing wrong with that. She said, but really, you need to figure out which brand you want to use in one painting and just stick with that brand. And I said, well, what does that matter? And she said, you don't need to mix brands. In other words, don't mix Liquitex, which I love, in a painting with Daler Rowney paints, or however you say that, whatever it is. Don't mix Liquitex or Winsor Newton, because see, I love the way Liquitex flows, but I like the colors in the Winsor Newton line, a few of them, better than what I do with the Liquitex colors. And I know you can kind of get it close when you're mixing colors, but not like how I want it. And she said, because different companies, like she said, for the Daler Rowney, Winsor Newton Blue, or you know, whatever, she said they use a different base pigment to make their color as opposed to what, say, Liquitex does. Okay? And I said, well, that kind of makes sense. So like, one color that's in common in almost all of them are like burnt sienna. That was just the first one that popped into my head. That color is in almost every single line of paint that I've ever had. But I tell you, I gave it the test. My sister was right. I used that burnt sienna or dioxazine purple or whatever you want to use. I gave it the test. I laid out a piece of scrap canvas and I took all of the familiar colors that I had in my line of brands and I painted a strip for each one of those. And she was right. Each one of those were slightly different and the color didn't match each other. I don't care what the name of it was. And sure enough, I took her advice, and the next painting that I did, I thought, okay, I'm going to use this color palette. I believe it was the Liquitex Basics because it was a pack of 36 colors and I love all those colors in there, even though never mind. Okay, so I picked for a painting just like my box of Liquitex Acrylic Basics. These. It comes in a pack of 36. And I didn't use anything. I didn't use anything in that painting but this brand. and that was the best painting I had did in a very long time. I just used that color scheme, or excuse me, I just used the Liquitex Basics in that one painting, and that painting looked so much better. And so it makes a difference. So it's okay. So the moral of the story is, it's okay to like different brands of paint, but if you can stick to one brand per painting, your painting will probably look much better, or at least, now that's just my experience, and I'm just sharing that, okay? But now I will say this, when I'm doing my fairies or my mermaids, this is the only time I mix a different brand. I use the Folk Art Skin Tone. It's number 949 to paint the base layer of my skin tone. Yes, I know you can mix alizarin crimson and yellow ochre and white, and sometimes I put a little bit of touch of blue in that. You know, when I get crafty and want to make the skin tone on my own, but usually just for the base coat, especially my cartoony fairies. Now, if it was a realistic one, I wouldn't do that. I would mix the flesh tone with the different colors of paint. But that's the only time I mix a brand name. The Folk Art Skin Tone. That's the only time that I mix that with Liquitex. And that's the only time I ever do that. So if you'll just keep that in mind. And if that has been a problem for you, you know, the colors in your painting just seem to not be flowing, make sure that you're using one brand of paint. Okay? So I appreciate you stopping by for a general art tip from me. So I'll see y'all next time.